is in our cities where the night radiates at its most beautiful. This playful dance of light and darkness brings the night to life for us. Harnessing fire and inventing the electric light, milestones in human history. The night is no longer the time of tranquility. Light lures us into the cities. This is a journey through the darkness of the night. It is a world full of incandescent moments. The golden hour. At sundown, the city is awash in warm light and welcomes the second half of the day, the end of a workday in the megacities of the world. The hush of the night has not yet fallen over the city. It is now the multitudes of office buildings, shopping malls and traffic lights that are bursting with light, illuminating our cities. A sea of light as far as the eye can see. Today, life without permanent lighting is hard to imagine. But in days gone by, that was the norm. Light was a symbol of power and sovereignty. Such splendor was reserved for the church and the aristocracy.
The night is a very hard concept to define, and it's important that we don't confuse the night with darkness. It's a very slippery concept in some ways because, of course, the night varies culturally, it varies historically, it varies by geography as well. If we think about the night in terms of simply chronological time, well, in the middle of winter, it might be dark at 4 p.m., but we wouldn't necessarily call that the night. Again, in summer, it might not get dark till 9, 10 p.m., but again, would we necessarily call that the night? I'm actually less interested in really trying to define what the night is, and I'm much more interested in how it works as a concept. What does it mean? How does it vary? How do people use the night? How does it change historically and culturally as well? So rather than trying to pin down what the night is, I think an interesting question is, what does the night mean? How does it vary? How does it change?
The conquest of the night through light has created space for many leisure time activities. Light changes our lives, and most of all, in our cities. Industrialization sets the stage. It provides, for example, the necessary traffic infrastructure for various regions. Today, how and what we consume in our free time is a very important economic factor. It was true in the past as it is today. The kind of leisure activity we pursue depends on money and status. After-work sports. Today, such activities are inconceivable without artificial light. Free time is the time of freedom. Every year during summertime, thousands of athletes descend upon cities for various nighttime runs. Light turns night into day. Life has expanded into the darkness.
Doing sports is probably the most important thing you can do for your health, so to move. But we should keep an eye on when, with respect to time of day, we do this physical activity. The short rate is before you sleep. Your adrenaline rises, your cortisol rises, so it disrupts your sleep if you exercise too short before you go to bed. Rule of thumb, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours before you go to bed, before you fall asleep, you should stop your physical activity at the gym. to give your body the chance to calm down and to fall asleep. From the research point of view, it has been shown that physical activity, sports, is better in the morning. It helps to synchronize the body with the day and not to disturb the sleep when you do the physical activity in the evening.
In wintertime, the sun already sets in the afternoon hours. A great opportunity to hit the slopes for some after-work skiing. Ski slopes that stretch for miles on end are lit by the floodlights as soon as the night falls. Tourists and locals then head out into the darkness to enjoy their sport, with the special kick that the illuminated slopes offer. Today, all these places where coal used to be mined and steel produced are lit up and sparkle in the most beautiful colours. Old steel mills, smokestacks and coal mines are now the venues for artistically elaborate light installations. At the Night of Industrial Culture, the Ruhr region celebrates itself. Whenever the so-called extra shift invites to a nocturnal dance of the lights, an entire region joins in to give it their very best. Mysteries unfold mostly in the dark, and the search for them lures legions of people into the night.
There are a number of myths about night people, the dominant one being, of course, that they're more creative, they're more cultural. Whether or not that's true, I really don't know. But the freedom to go out at night, the freedom to live life on your own terms of night is, of course, very strongly associated with the freedom from the day-to-day, from the ordinary, from the banal, from everything that the day perhaps means as well. There's a very strong association between night people and bars and cafes and nightclubs, but it's not just those spaces as well. The night is so much more than that. It's also about the streets.
In Berlin, the hip neighborhoods of Prenzlauer Berg, Friedrichshain or Kreuzberg are the most popular hotspots in the city. The so-called spätis, late shopping places that is, are immovable fixtures in Berlin's neighborhoods. Even in Germany, known for its traditionally strict business hours for stores, there's something always on offer for night owls. The spätis trace back to the second half of the 20th century in the former German Democratic Republic. In those days, they sold groceries, drinks and tobacco to shift workers after business hours. This used to only be an East German thing, but after the wall came down, the spätis became iconic, achieving cult status in West Berlin and outside the former GDR. In 1882, the first electrified streetlight is switched on in Hamburg. Step by step, the city and its nocturnal world is transformed into a radiant landscape. Today, almost 125,000 streetlights and 35 million kilowatt hours per year illuminate the Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Where there is light, there is shadow. And in particular, in the St. Pauli neighborhood and on the Reeperbahn. The Party Mile and Red Light District. Backdrop to many seedy tales and salacious stories. The hunger for life. Every year, millions of people come to visit. Brothels, pimps and vaudeville shows. The Reeperbahn is chock-a-block with tall tales. But how did this street ever become the Reeperbahn? It's in the 17th century, when so-called Riebschläger, rope makers that is, settled down in today's St. Pauli. And they need space for their ropes, up to 300 meters. and the reefer barn is long enough for their rope lanes. The heavy ropes are made of hemp. In long and arduous hours, they are manually twisted and then tarred. Industrialization is the beginning of the end of this craft. The reefer barn, however, is starting to become more important, especially at night. The history of the Hanseatic city of Hamburg goes hand in hand with the history of seafaring. Hamburg's harbour is the third largest in Europe. Approximately 135 million tons of cargo entered and left Hamburg's harbour in 2018 alone. Among the cargo, 9 million standard containers. South of Hamburg, you can find Maschen, Europe's largest railroad switchyard. From this place, goods are sent to every corner of Europe. About 90% of international trade is shipped by sea. Almost every third container transshipped at Hamburg Harbour arrives from China or started its sea voyage from there. The economic impact of the Industrial Revolution hits especially hard here at the so-called Gate of the World.
We can talk about the night in terms of a before and after the Industrial Revolution, but that doesn't mean that there was ever just one type of night prior to the Industrial Revolution. A lot of the changes that actually occurred in the night were actually starting to occur around about the 1600s. That was where we saw in a very short period of time between 1650 and 1700, that was when we really saw streetlights start to emerge. So this is before the Industrial Revolution. So it wasn't simply a case that the Industrial Revolution happened and then suddenly everything changed. There were a number of very small changes that were already starting to occur from about the mid to late 1600s anyway.
Since then, the world has been turned upside down. In only a few centuries, industrialized nations turned light into a symbol of power and wealth and propelled our world into a new age. The so-called blue banana outlines the economic power of the European countries. From England to northern Italy, the financially powerful regions of Europe are lit up.
In 2017, my colleagues and I used an American satellite that can measure light at nighttime to look at how light is changing worldwide. And what we found is that nearly all countries are becoming brighter over time. The average worldwide is an increase of about 2% per year. We do see that the light growth as a rate is largest in the places that have the least light. So for example, countries that are still developing. In those places, you can see growths of light of over 10% per year, which is really dramatic, but we have to remember they're starting off with a much smaller amount.
In order that the industrial plants can run their night shifts, they need sufficient lighting. A job done by thousands of lights. Light is associated with another great accomplishment of our civilization, electric power. A power we produce in different ways today. More than 1 billion kilowatt hours of electrical power is harnessed globally from wind energy. China, the USA and Germany are among the top three. At night, tall windmills, starting at 100 meters, generate more power than the smaller ones. The reason? At night there is more wind at higher altitudes than near the ground. But in spite of renewable energy, fossil fuel is still being used to generate electrical power. Brown coal is strip mined in 3-shift operations, on 365 days a year. At night, the #1 consumer of electric power is the manufacturing industry. Their production plants operate around the clock. In private households, however, power consumption goes down significantly during this time.
People use light in cities for different reasons. So for example, the city uses streetlights to help us get around safely, whereas advertisers are using light to try and attract us to come to where they're working or something like that. And what can happen in a city is that as advertisers are trying to compete with each other, things get brighter and brighter and brighter. And in comparison, the streets start to look dark. So maybe the city then starts to make things brighter. And for the last 100 years, we've been consistently making our cities more and more and more bright over time. You can think of it like an analogy with a room where you have a lot of people. In order to be heard, people start to speak louder, and then the whole room gets louder, and so everybody has to keep being louder in order to be heard. And so you have a sort of ratchet effect where things keep getting brighter and brighter and brighter, but we're not necessarily actually seeing that much better.
More than 65 million streetlights light up Europe's streets and roads. But the fact is, the beginning of the streetlight was anything but easy. The advent of the street lantern in Europe was met with a considerable amount of resistance. In particular in France, this lighting was not only understood to be a public safety measure in the dark. Here, this protest is felt especially hard.
Street lighting wasn't, of course, welcomed by everyone, and some people felt that street lighting, when it occurred in the 1700s, was very much about adding another layer of control onto people. And there was a counter-protest, a group of people who would go around smashing lanterns at night. Lots of quite big fines associated with this, but it is quite an interesting thought that for some members of the community, lighting was actually not a positive thing at all. It was actually something that they didn't want.
But streetlights prevailed. However, due to the fact that darkness is not really that dark anymore, it can upset the lives of people and animals alike. The sea of light causes problems for animals everywhere and the entire ecosystem. Due to light pollution, especially in cities, the habitats of numerous insects have changed. The night is lost to the light. There are only a few spots of darkness left in industrial countries.
People mean a lot of things when they talk about light pollution. For example, light affects animals and plants. Light also affects people. We also have the problem that sometimes we can't see well because of glare. That's a form of light pollution. During the daytime when the sun is shining, we don't just have the light from the sun, we also have the glowing of the atmosphere because of scattered sunlight. The same thing happens at nighttime. Our lights from city go up into the sky and get scattered back towards our eyes, making a glow over and around cities that we call sky glow, and that's also a form of light pollution.
But they still exist, these places of darkness. At the nature reserve Westhaveland, about 90 kilometers outside Berlin, the nights actually are still pretty much pitch black. Franz Holker and Stefan Heller have set up lamps and attached traps to them. There are two experimental fields. This one here is brightly illuminated. The other one is, as it used to be, pitch black. This allows for comparison. The researchers want to find out what kind of an impact artificial light has on nature, especially when close to rivers and lakes.
There's a theory that says that many insects use the moon as a landmark. It's easy to imagine, since when you drive along the highway, the moon is always at the same angle. But if now there's actually a lamp that imitates the moon, so to speak, and is mistaken for the moon, that insect will try again and again to adjust its angle and start circling around this lamp until it is completely exhausted.
This mixes up the day and night rhythm of the insects. They use these lamps for orientation, but with deadly consequences. Every summer night, artificial light confuses countless insects. And for many of them, this so-called vacuum cleaner effect spells a fatal ending.
Insects have a hard time passing by these rows of light, and that leads to a parceling up of nightscapes. You can see this quite clearly on satellite maps or from aerial shots, how a city is characterized by these light corridors. But all these light corridors also mean barriers to insects. And we also know that bats also have a big problem with this, and I think it could affect many other animals as well.
On the other hand, other animals have learned to coexist well with this flood of light. Like here in summertime Cologne. In mild summer nights, Cologne's cathedral is not only an attraction for tourists. The brightly illuminated towers attract insects as well, and benefit these creatures, the black-headed gulls. In lofty heights, a captivating extravaganza is performed night for night, because for these gulls, the Gothic cathedral turns into an all-you-can-eat buffet, and offer the birds can't resist, even if it means punching in for a night shift. Night shifts are a normal part of life here too. Courtesy of our brave new world of work, trucks, ships, freight trains, and people too, they all make sure that everyday life runs smoothly, starting at night. And it is light that allows us to be productive in the dark, always and everywhere. In many businesses, the day and night rhythm has been suspended. The cost pressure is crushing. Time is money and waiting is a skill, which we sometimes forget. Work on these giants of the sea also has to continue through the night. They are lit up like a balloon, so they can leave port as fast as possible. Men and machines are on the job around the clock and around the world.
People have always worked at night. Bakers, night watchmen, security, the people who used to come and clear the waste from outside houses. People have always worked, in a sense. And of course, it depends on how we define work. If we recognize that childcare, those things are work, then again, people have always worked. But there were various laws about going out at night, not just curfews, but in some places people were actually forbidden from venturing out into the dark. So, of course, that did preclude a number of people from being able to work. Some of these make perfect sense. If you're working in a site where you have to have lots of candles, that does raise various fire issues. It raises various security issues as well.
The risk of fire is not the only reason. Product quality should not be compromised either. Even ancient Rome is governed by daytime. The law of the 12 table instructs judges not to pass verdicts after sundown. And even in the late Middle Ages, the rule still applied that any contracts and agreements entered into at night were null and void or could be contested. In those days, the night was considered to be the realm of brigands and scoundrels. In England, nighttime suspects were called night walkers. Towards the end of the 15th century, the ban on night work started to be relaxed, thanks in part to the rise of the postal service. At fixed relay stations, postal riders take over from one another on their nightly routes. Now post is delivered day and night. Starting in the middle of the 17th century, the coach had become a fashionable means of transportation. Now the postal service is also transporting people. The means of transportation may change. The principle stays the same. Travelers want to get from A to B, and so does freight. But the rules are not the same in every corner of the world. The regulations for night flights, for example, are stricter in Europe than in the USA, Asia, or the Middle East. But the demand for just-in-time deliveries is on the rise. And to meet this demand, companies rely more and more on seamless logistics chains. And to achieve this, they take advantage of the time differences. Take, for example, a package that gets dropped off at 3 p.m. local time. It can already be at the Hong Kong airport leaving for Europe at 6:20 p.m. Thanks to the time difference, the package arrives as early as 11:30 p.m. in Leipzig, on the same day, that is. Within a few hours, the package is then processed for further transport to Madrid, so that the recipient is able to take just-in-time delivery at 9 a.m. Dubai International Airport transported about 90 million passengers and more than 2.5 million tons of cargo in 2018. Nighttime takeoffs and landings are allowed here, which makes transit flights possible to Europe or Australia, where night flights are banned. The Dubai airport alone accounts for more than 1/3 of the gross domestic product of the Emirates. Roadworks insanity on the highways and preparations for the night. Roads are under construction, especially after rush hour, to minimize the slowdown on traffic. Tractor trailers, steamrollers, asphalt millers, and 1,650 tons of hot asphalt. These are the ingredients for a road resurfacing job. Time-pressed and highly focused because the temperature of the asphalt must be absolutely accurate. "150 degrees is perfect. Normally, it is supposed to set for several hours. But sometimes, things need to move faster. Here, traffic is back on track after only 3 hours. A business of deadlines. Good for the commuters, not so good for the road workers' sleep.
The alarm clock is one of the most common things in our bedrooms, in our behavior that we know that disrupts our sleep. No one questions that we use an alarm clock. And research groups around the globe have shown that most working people need an alarm clock to be right on time at their workplace. So the simpler question is, what would happen if we tell people, you do not need to use your alarm clock? And this is what we want to find out in this experiment. What does it to the sleep of people who do not use an alarm clock? Do they sleep longer? Do they fall asleep earlier? Do they wake up later? Do they sleep better? Is their sleep quality better? Do they feel more productive when they wake up? This is what we want to find out.
The town of Scheer in the German state of Baden-Württemberg. Headquarters of a mid-sized building materials company and also the site of an exciting experiment. The family-owned company manufactures ceilings, punch parts and plastics in a 2-shift operation day and night. These kind of work hours can have an effect on the health of employees, and performance can be diminished as well. The company now wants to find out what happens if a late riser is able to sleep late and arrives at work with no need to hurry. For half a year, 14 employees do without their alarm clocks. Everybody starts their workday as it suits their internal clocks. The goal, a work-hour model that suits the chronobiology of their employees and also benefits the company.
When I'm tired, I basically need more energy to do the same job than if I am well rested. That means being able to perform better does not necessarily mean that I can double the performance, but that I can do the same job with less energy.
The test subjects for the experiment are all volunteers. Before the experiment starts, their chronotypes are ascertained with the help of a questionnaire and a blood test. Blood markers indicate whether someone is more of an early bird or a late riser. The results are only revealed after the experiment to rule out any undue influence of the test subjects. Other countries, other sleep habits. The French really are bona fide sleepyheads, and according to international comparative studies, need the most sleep with 8 hours and 50 minutes. The Germans are ranked in the middle and actually sleep almost 30 minutes less than their neighbours in France. The same is true for the British, who on average sleep 5 minutes less than the Germans. The Japanese make good on their reputation as workaholics who prefer short nights. They sleep only 7 hours and 50 minutes per night. But they are beaten by their South Korean neighbours by barely a minute less.
There is some evidence to suggest that actually until around the 1700s in Northern Europe, but also there's some evidence from the Americas and some African countries as well, that we actually used to sleep in two phases, in two stages. So people would often go to bed maybe at dusk or a couple of hours after dusk. They would then get up in the middle of the night and other activities, maybe religious observance, maybe having sex, perhaps in some cases even visiting friends, and then would go back to sleep for another 4 hours. So this idea that we must all ascribe to some kind of 8-hour sleep pattern, perhaps it's actually not correct. Perhaps really we should be going back to a two-stage sleeping process.
Our bodies and minds regenerate while we sleep. Finding the right balance, however, is not always easy these days. Darkness is the foundation for a refreshing and healthy sleep. Quiet surroundings are also important. Light and sound both can interrupt a night's rest. Poor sleepers will then have problems. When darkness comes, the pineal gland, which is pea-sized and located in the midbrain, starts releasing melatonin. It regulates our day and night rhythm. The brain cools down and all the vessels dilate. The entire body is getting ready for the night and for sleep. Smartphones, computers, and other glowing devices disturb our sleep. It's particularly the blue hues that are received by the receptors on our retina, and that sends an especially strong signal to the pineal gland, which is led to believe that it is daytime and thus stops the production of melatonin.
The main impact of artificial light for humans actually comes indoors and not outdoors because we light our homes. And so light is very beneficial for people because it allows us to extend our activity into the evening, especially for those of us that live not so close to the equator. We have very long winter nights, and we can do a lot of things with our family if we have light to stay up late. That light also affects our physiology, though. And so when we have too little light in the daytime because we spend our time indoors, and then a lot of light during the nighttime because we spend our time indoors, our body never really recognizes what time is day and what time is night, and we lose our synchronization to the 24-hour cycle.
The experiment in Shire has been completed. The test subjects lived and worked by their internal clocks for 6 months. During this time, it was the natural light that set the pace. Their employees never once touched their alarm clocks in those 6 months.
I was very surprised to see how well and good this experiment went. We see that these individuals went earlier to bed, they woke up later, and they slept longer. On average, we saw an increase in sleep duration of half an hour on work days, 30 minutes more sleep, and almost 1 hour longer sleep on free days. And this is remarkable by such a simple intervention to just say, leave away the alarm clock. We saw that their sleep quality increased, and we saw that their subjective ratings of how alert do they feel in the morning, that this increased as well. So it was very well received by the individuals, and they were very keen on keeping up with this, and now we need to discuss how to continue with this and to see what other burdens might be there in private life as well.
A good night's sleep holds the promise of happy and high-performing employees. Removing the alarm clock was a success, but doing away with the alarm clock is not always compatible with everyday life and family. However, the experiment showed that further research in this field is worth doing. The world we enter at night is a mysterious world, sometimes even a bit gloomy. Because the night creates distorted images, changes the perception of otherwise familiar things. It is now our imagination that fills the darkness with life.
There certainly does seem to be that impression that our trouble seems to be much more insurmountable at the night. We've all woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going over and over and thinking about something that we said or we didn't say, or we wish we had said, or we wish we hadn't done. Our problems do seem to be much greater and much more keenly felt in the night as well. And then we wake up in the next morning and we wonder why did we worry about that?
Even in the comfort of their own homes, many people have a hard time finding a good night's sleep. How deeply you sleep changes throughout the night, and many people wake up after about 4 hours. People who go to bed at about 11 in the evening often wake up between 3 and 4 in the morning and have trouble getting back to sleep. During the night, our worries can catch up with us. Troublesome thoughts prowl around like hungry predators. That's why sleep researchers call this time the hour of the wolf. The fact is, the human body, in contrast to the psyche, works at a very low energy level. It simply wants to sleep, nothing else. The cause for this gloomy mood might be the high melatonin level at this hour of the night. Because now this hormone is being released profusely and reaches its maximum level. Plus, our body temperature is now at its lowest. All our muscles are relaxed. Our heartbeat slows down. And when the wolves take the night, it has an impact on our well-being. We can feel it in our bones the next morning. We often feel tapped out and exhausted. Millions of people suffer from sleep problems. Their nightly worrying triggers stress that again activates their bodies. A vicious circle. It sometimes takes hours before they can go back to sleep again.
I think part of the issue here is that, of course, for most of us, the night is still about the domestic realm. It is still about being at home, where we want to feel safe, we want to feel secure. That is how most of us do spend our nights, even if we're asleep or not asleep, that it's a time which feels much more private, that we're not out in the world busily engaging with people. We're instead at home, alone, often thinking about our own problems, thinking about our own self.
At night, many places are designed to make a very lively impression. Millions of lights face off with darkness all over the world. More and more cities rely on city marketing, and then nothing can be bright enough. It's not only cars that the automotive industry wants to show off, but also their headquarters. To this very day, light is an expression of wealth. The Frankfurt skyline, at night, a spectacular sight to see. Lighting concepts illuminate this city, an architecture full of magic. The power of money for all the world to see. Urban visions between tradition and technology. A festival to honor the new part of the old city. 110 LED drones draw constellations in the sky, a symphony of light above the river Main.
Lightness is, of course, about power. It's about prestige. It's about the ability to demonstrate that you are in some ways separate from the day-to-day toil, that you can actually stay up all night, that you can afford to do this as well.
Staying up late is worth it when numerous buildings around the globe are lit up with works of art. Year for year, some cities are transformed into oversized open-air galleries. At the Festival of Lights, originally launched in Berlin, artists project their works of art onto various monuments, even botanical ones. The city changes into a gigantic stage for video and light shows. Some celebrate art at a construction site, others on their own bodies. War paint for badminton. A sport that only develops its full potential for fun in the dark. Black lights make the nocturnal teams glow. The magic of the night becomes truly tangible in places that look bleak during the day. When the night falls, light and architecture intertwine. Here, lighting at night serves security purposes, but then changes prisons in the dark into veritable works of art. There are also other multi-purpose buildings that unfold their radiant powers best when hidden. During the day, a necessary nuisance. But at night, even water treatment plants show the best they can ever be. The night from October the 31st to November the 1st is under the sway of witches, ghosts, and monsters. Halloween is very popular, especially in North America, celebrated with a vengeance. In the 19th century, Irish immigrants brought this custom across the waters to the USA. Halloween has its origin in a Celtic festival, and was called Samhain in pre-Christian times. Stories of yore have it that this was the night when the gates between our world and the world of ghosts were pushed open. It was said that now ghosts, fairies, demons were allowed to cross over and wander the earth. In the course of time, Christians embraced this heathen custom and renamed the festival All Hallows Eve, or later, Halloween.
When we talk about fear associated with the night, it's important to remember that fear can also be fun. So when we're talking about the horror stories, when we're talking about, we've all remembered as children the time that we had slumber parties and sat around campfires with our friends telling ghost stories, that fear can also be quite fun as well. It can also be quite pleasurable to frighten other people and for them to frighten us in the night as well.
A light in the darkness. Candles play a central role in Christianity. A look into their flames warms your soul and gives comfort in the dark of night. They exude a mysterious magic, the eternal circle. Light as the opposite pole to darkness.
Not only in Christianity, but also in other religions, light symbolizes a lot of different things. Just think of the church service at the Easter Vigil. It takes place in a dark church. Christ has died on the cross, and we are celebrating his resurrection. It is dark. People can identify with his dying and his death in the Holy Week. And then we light a candle, and brightness and hope return. And this is what light stands for. This is why candles play such an important role in many, many Christian festivities.
In springtime, on the Sunday after the first full moon in spring, every year people observe the customs of their ancestors. The Easter wheel run of UHD. 6 burning wheels roll down from the top of the Easter hill into the valley. Each one weighs 400 kilograms and goes of up to 50 kilometers an hour. In the same way, generations before us bid farewell to winter with its pitch black and icy nights. No matter if it's a heathen custom or a Christian ritual, the Easter wheel run fascinates more than 20,000 people every year. The contrast between light and dark, day and night, summer and winter. The St. Martin's bonfires start off a series of light festivals in many towns and villages. Every year in November, thousands of lanterns defy darkness in Germany or Belgium. St. Martin's parades carry light into the dark and proclaim Christian charity. The St. Martin's Parade, as they call it today, was only established in the 19th century. The day it takes place not only has a Christian meaning, but also a secular significance.
It is November 11th, St. Martin's Day, and in the agrarian economy, this was the day on which in some regions rent for the land was due, where the farmhands that had annual contracts were replaced, as is still the custom today. And that meant people had some money in their pockets. It was the end of a work year, cattle were slaughtered, there was meat and fat, people ate a lot. Alcohol was in the mix. People danced. And since in the rural areas this happened outdoors, people built a fire to meet at, to dance around and celebrate.
But it's not only in Europe where people celebrate light in the winter months. Every November, Thailand celebrates the Lantern Festival, and always at the full moon of the 12th month. The custom of floating lanterns on the river or up into the air has been around for hundreds of years. The origin of this tradition? Loi Krathong, as the locals call their light festival, is the source of many myths. The story of a princess is especially popular. She is said to have launched little boats carrying candles across the Chao Phraya River to her lover night after night. In the course of centuries, these little boats have morphed into floating torches that create a breathtaking sight in the night sky. For thousands of years, humans feared the night and the darkness, until they invented the electric light. The history of the night is the history of great achievements. The night lets business and wealth radiate. It allows us to discover hidden places and create new worlds.